The first time my wife told me she was leaving me, she was wearing the diamond necklace I had bought her. The second time she begged me not to leave her, she was standing in the same necklace. But by then, everything had changed. I had already learned the truth about her, and she had finally learned the truth about me. For 7 years, I believed Emma and I had the kind of marriage people secretly envied. We had met when we were both 26. She was beautiful, ambitious, and full of dreams. I was quieter. I worked long hours, rarely talked about money, and preferred building things behind the scenes rather than standing in front of cameras. When we got married, Emma told me something I'll never forget. "I don't care if we're rich," she whispered during our wedding night. "I just want us to be happy." I believed her. Maybe that was my first mistake. For years, I worked on a technology company I had started with 2 friends. We weren't famous. We didn't appear in magazines. Most people had never heard of us. But the company was growing. Very quickly, there was only one problem. I didn't want my name attached to it. I had watched too many founders become obsessed with money, attention, and status. So I created a holding company and placed my ownership under it. To the outside world, I was simply Daniel Carter, a hardworking husband who drove an ordinary car and lived in an ordinary house. Emma knew I was successful, but she never knew how successful, and slowly that began to bother her. "Daniel, look at the people around us." Emma stood in front of our bedroom mirror one evening, removing her earrings. "What do you mean?" she sighed. "Nothing." I knew that wasn't true. "You can tell me." She looked at me through the mirror. "Do you ever feel like we're falling behind?" I smiled. "Behind who?" "Everyone." She turned around. "Everyone we know is moving forward. Bigger houses, better cars, more expensive vacations." I stared at her. "We have everything we need. That isn't the same as having everything we want." Her words stayed with me. I thought it was a phase. It wasn't. A few weeks later, Emma began attending charity events and business parties without me. At first, I didn't complain. She told me they were important for her career. Then she started mentioning one name repeatedly. Alexander Black, a billionaire, 40 years old, owner of Blackstone International. His face appeared regularly on business magazines. His company owned hotels, technology firms, private investments, and luxury properties around the world. "He's incredibly intelligent," Emma said one night. I looked up from my laptop. "You've met him?" "Several times." "Where?" "At the foundation events." She smiled. "He's different from other wealthy men." I didn't answer. Something about the way she said his name made me uncomfortable. 3 months later, Emma came home after midnight. I was waiting in the living room. She froze when she saw me. "You're awake?" "Yes." She slowly removed her coat. "Why?" "Because you're my wife." She looked away. "Daniel," I stood. "Is there something you want to tell me?" Silence. Then she said something that broke 7 years of marriage in less than 10 seconds. "I think I love someone else." I felt as though the room had suddenly become enormous. "Who?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. "Alexander." Her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry." I stared at her. "You're married to me." "I know." "And you love him?" She nodded. I expected anger. I expected screaming. Instead, I felt something much worse. Nothing. A strange emptiness spread through my chest. "How long?" 6 months. 6 months. 6 months of dinners. 6 months of sleeping beside me. 6 months of telling me she loved me. I quietly asked, "Did you sleep with him?" Emma closed her eyes. That was my answer. I turned away. "Pack your things." She looked shocked. "Daniel, pack your things. Where am I supposed to go?" I laughed bitterly. "Apparently you already found someone who can give you everything I couldn't." She began crying, but I didn't comfort her. For the first time in 7 years, I walked away from her. The divorce papers arrived 2 weeks later. Emma had already moved into one of Alexander's penthouses. The media even photographed them together. She looked happy. I looked at the pictures for less than a minute before closing my laptop. Then I called my attorney. "It's time." He understood. "Are you sure?" Yes, for years I had kept my identity hidden. Now I was ready to reveal everything. 3 days later, business news exploded across the internet. The headline appeared everywhere. Asked mystery investor revealed as majority owner of Carter Dynamics. The company Emma thought was merely a small technology business was now valued at over $8 billion. And the mysterious majority shareholder? Me, Daniel Carter, the quiet husband she had abandoned. Within hours, journalists were outside my office. My photograph appeared on television. And then something unexpected happened. Alexander called me. I answered. "Daniel." His voice was unusually serious. "You knew." "I knew what? That Emma was leaving you." "Yes." "You never told her about your ownership." "No." "Why?" I looked through the window at the city. "Because if money was the reason she loved me, I didn't want that love." There was silence. Then Alexander said, "You've ruined my deal." I frowned. "What deal?" "The acquisition." I finally understood. Alexander hadn't simply been dating my wife. He had been trying to acquire one of the companies under my holding group. Emma had given him information about my business. She believed she was helping her future husband. Instead, she had unknowingly helped him walk directly into a trap. I smiled coldly. "You should have done your homework." The line went silent. That evening, Emma came to my house. She wasn't wearing the expensive confidence I'd seen in photographs. She looked exhausted. Her makeup was gone. Her eyes were red from crying. "Daniel." I didn't invite her inside. "What do you want?" She swallowed. "I need to talk to you." "About what?" "Everything." I remained silent. She stepped closer. "I didn't know." "Know what?" "That you owned Carter Dynamics." I smiled sadly. "You never asked." Her eyes filled with tears. "I thought you were struggling." I was. She stared at me. "Then how?" "I built it." Her lips trembled. "Daniel, please." "Please what?" "Give me another chance." I looked at the woman I had once planned to grow old with. For a moment, I remembered our first apartment, our first Christmas together, the night we danced in the kitchen because we couldn't afford a vacation. I remembered everything. But I also remembered her saying, "I want more." She stepped closer. I made a terrible mistake. Yes, I was selfish. Yes, I thought Alexander could give me the life I wanted. And now, she began crying. Now I know I threw away the best thing I ever had. I looked down. "Emma, you didn't leave because I wasn't enough." She looked at me. "You left because you believed someone else was better." Her tears fell silently. And maybe that's the hardest part. For the first time, Emma told me everything. Alexander had promised her luxury. He had promised her a new life. He had convinced her that I was holding her back. But after my company was revealed, Alexander changed. He became angry, controlling, cold. He blamed her for everything. Then he discovered that the information Emma had given him had been worthless. My legal team had anticipated the possibility of an internal leak months earlier. Emma had betrayed me, but she had gained nothing. Now she was alone, and she wanted to come home. I could have said yes. Part of me wanted to. But love isn't always about taking someone back. Sometimes love means accepting that a chapter has ended. "I forgive you," I told her. She stared at me. "You do?" "Yes." "Then can we try again?" I shook my head. Her face collapsed. "Why?" "Because forgiveness isn't the same as trust." She began sobbing. "I can change." "I believe you." "Then why?" "Because I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering whether you love me or my bank account." She covered her face. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "I really did love you." I nodded. "I loved you too." "Then why does this feel like goodbye?" "Because sometimes two people can love each other and still destroy what they had." Months passed. The divorce became final. Emma left the city. She started working for a nonprofit organization helping women rebuild their lives after financial hardship. I heard about it through a mutual friend. She had changed. Not because she had lost her billionaire, because she had finally realized that money could never fix an empty heart. As for me, I stopped hiding. I became the public face of Carter Dynamics. But I didn't become obsessed with wealth. Instead, I created a foundation in my parents' names. We funded scholarships, built schools, supported young entrepreneurs. And for the first time, I understood something I had missed while building my fortune. Success wasn't having Bilsimi. Success was being able to use what you had to change someone's life. A year later, I met Sophia. She worked as an architect for one of our foundation projects. The first thing she said to me was, "You're not what I expected." I laughed. "What did you expect? A billionaire. And what do you see?" She looked at me for a moment. "A tired man who needs coffee." I laughed harder than I had in years. Sophia didn't care about my money. She didn't even ask about it. She cared about my ideas, my family, my dreams. She challenged me. She disagreed with me. She made me laugh. And slowly, without realizing it, I fell in love again. One evening, we stood on the balcony of my apartment watching the city lights. Sophia leaned against my shoulder. "Are you happy?" I looked at her. For the first time in a long time, she smiled. "Good." I took her hand. "There's something I need to ask you." She looked up. I reached into my pocket. Her eyes widened. "Daniel." I opened the box. "I'm not asking you because of what I own." She smiled through tears. "Good. I'm asking because when everything disappeared, the money, the reputation, the success, you were the person who still saw me." She whispered, "Yes." I smiled. "Will you marry me?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." A few months later, Emma received an invitation. She almost threw it away. Then she opened it. Inside was a photograph of Daniel and Sophia. Underneath was one sentence, *, "We hope you'll be there." Emma stared at the invitation for a long time. Then she smiled. Not because she wanted Daniel back, because she was finally happy for him. At the wedding, she stood quietly in the back. When Daniel saw her, he nodded. She nodded back. No anger, no jealousy, no unfinished business, only forgiveness. After the ceremony, Emma approached Sophia. "I was wrong about him," she said. Sophia smiled gently. "I know." Emma laughed softly. "Take care of him." Sophia looked toward Daniel. "I will." Emma walked away, and Daniel watched her disappear into the crowd. He felt no sadness, only gratitude, because losing Emma had once felt like the end of his life. But it had actually been the beginning of another one, a better one. A life where he no longer needed to prove his worth. A life where love wasn't measured by houses, cars, diamonds, or bank accounts. A life where someone chose him when she had nothing to gain. Daniel took Sophia's hand. She squeezed it. He smiled. And for the first time, he understood the secret that had taken him years to discover. Asterisk, the greatest wealth in life isn't the money you can accumulate. Asterisk, it's finding someone who would still choose you if you had nothing. And that was the one thing no billionaire could ever buy.